Howdy everybody, David here. Today I want to show you a tabletop game that I have recently got really involved with, and it's called Savage Worlds. As you can see here, this is the book. It is about 160 pages, and this book also has a smaller version, which is about 190 pages, and it's a softback. Well, in this hardback of 160 pages, going to cost you between $20 and $30, depending on if you buy it online or if you go to a game store, or if you buy the soft cover, it'll run you about $8 to $10, depending if you buy it online or in a game store. So right off the bat, it's very appealing from a price point of view. Very good. So what is Savage Worlds? Savage Worlds it's basically a generic role-playing system. It is literally any genre of tabletop games you want to play. Literally anything. You have probably, if you've been playing a lot of D&D or Pathfinder, the first question that you're probably going to ask is this like a D20 system? No, it's not. It does use a D20 on a very, very rare occasion, but for the most part, the game uses D4, D6, D8, 10, and 12. And it has a very cool feature called the exploding die. And whenever you roll a max on, say, if you're rolling a skill check or maybe a fighting skill check, and you say you have a D8 for that ability, if you roll a D8, that means it explodes, and you roll it again. If you roll another 8, you add that for 16, and you keep rolling until the die stop exploding. It's a very, very fun game. It is a very rule-light game. And you can do a lot of damage with these exploding die really quick. And unfortunately, one of my long-term players in my zombie apocalypse game was killed last night because of 3 exploding 6-sideds, which is unfortunate, but the game, it is advertised as fast and furious and fun, and it is that. So, about 2 years ago, I picked up the Savage World PDF that you see here from Pinnacle Entertainment, who's by Pinnacle Entertainment, and the author is Shane Hensley. Shane Hensley's done a lot of Savage World stuff. It's just not a generic core book. There's also multiple campaign settings, different games that you can play. There's companions, like the Fantasy Companion, which is nothing but all fantasy stuff. That's on addition to this book. There's a Horror Companion that adds on to this book. There is a Sci-Fi Companion. This is what the Sci-Fi Companion looks like. It's a very small book, not a very small book, but it is a smaller book, about the size of the soft cover book that is made. And they're about 100 pages. And the Sci-Fi Companion is full of nothing but sci-fi monsters, sci-fi guns. Anything pertaining to sci-fi, it's in here. Mechs, all kinds of modifications for mechs, it's all in there. There's also a Superheroes Companion. So as you hear what I'm talking about, it is a generic campaign. It's a very generic game, and you can play any game. So there's a lot of settings. Not only are there the fantasy companions, but there are a lot of settings. So let's take a look inside of the book, which is a very nice hardcover. It's very nicely bound. The quality of the book is excellent. They use a very thick weighted paper. Everything is divided in nice chapters, explaining everything from rules to character creation, a bestiary, a very, very extensive equipment section that covers all genres. There is a beautiful DM section or GM section. And here are some settings, and these are all settings by Pinnacle Entertainment. And before I show you these, they have a very friendly licensing program that they allow other companies to license the Savage Worlds rule set to their campaign settings or their games. So literally, everybody, guys and gals, there are hundreds and hundreds of different games that you can play from these small little indie game companies using the Savage Worlds rules. And like I said, I got this about 2 years ago, and I really wish that I started playing Savage Worlds a lot sooner, because it is really fun. It's super easy to play. So let's go ahead and show you some of these space setting. This is a Space 1889 setting, and basically this is a very crazy Mars. They're on Mars, and it's sort of like a steampunk type of game. There's 50 fathoms behind my big thick head there. That is a pirate setting. There's also another pirate setting called Pirates of the Spanish Main, which you can customize your ship, customize your crew. It goes into a lot of detail. Here's the Deadlands. This is probably the most popular. This is a sort of like a spaghetti western type of campaign setting, which has a lot of demons and devils, and it's cowboys and western. It's a very good game. I've played a couple Savage Worlds games already and really enjoy it. Here's Weird Wars. Basically, you're in Berlin or anywhere in Europe during World War II, but you're not only fighting the Germans, or if you're playing on the German side, you're fighting the Americans and Russians, but you're also fighting other creatures as well, because of all of the the chaotic mess of what is going on. So you can also take the weirdness out of it and just have a World War II game. I mean, the versatility of this system is amazing. Here's the Savage World of Solomon Kane. I mean, that's literature from years ago. Here's the Rippers. Rippers is basically 1890s England. Jack the Ripper, Van Helsing, things like that. I mean, there's all kinds of different settings. There's fantasy settings. There's a very extensive Hellfrost setting made by Triple Ace Games. It's beautiful. There's the Sixth Gun, which is a new spaghetti western type of setting. There's Call of Cthulhu. There's a very extensive first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons that was converted by someone close to 8 to 10 years ago when Savage Worlds came out. You can literally get the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and a massive monster manual for free. It's crazy. And this is player made, so it is free. It is not a cracked PDF or a scanned PDF. And the game is great. Has a very good character customization. And I don't want to show you, the book is very nicely made, the hardback. The one thing that I do want to show you guys before I switch over to the PDF and go over page by page, the equipment section is beautiful. This is one of the standout chapters, in my opinion, being a gamer, being a dungeon master. I love extensive equipment sections, not only for fantasy, for anything. And this goes into it. So as you can see, there's all kinds of modern day armor. It talks about all the different shotguns. I mean, literally, it has everything from medieval stuff to modern, and it breaks it all down into the armors. And then all of the ranged weapons, as you can see, starting from throwing axes, very primitive medieval weapons, all the way to black powder, and then the modern handguns, Glock 9mm, M16, futuristic over here on the next page, mounted guns on vehicles. I mean, as you can see, there are pages and pages of, not only fantasy, but sci-fi and modern, not only guns, but the stats for vehicles. It shows you how to, if there's not a vehicle in here, there are rules to create a vehicle depending on the weight of the car. I mean, it is an ingenious system. It truly is. Airplanes, anything you want, tanks, mortars, I mean, anything. And if it's not in this book, the core book for the setting that you're going to be playing will have more. In an example, the Sci-Fi Companion has a ton of laser rifles, laser pistols, laser grenades, all kinds of different things. And then it goes into the game rules, and you can see there's plenty of art throughout the book, very thick pages, and it's not one theme of art; it's all the genres together. So let's go ahead and switch over to the PDF. And like I said, I got the PDF about 2 years ago from Pinnacle, and it kind of just sat there. And I actually ordered the hardback too. I got the pack of the book and the PDF, and I really wish that I'd started playing sooner. So Savage Worlds is a good game. I've showed you guys already about the settings, so we'll go past that. Here's character creation. This is chapter 1. It has, this generic book has, a whole bunch of races, not only traditional fantasy races, but other alien races and whatnot. And every like I said, folks, every other setting, like the sci-fi setting, has more. It this even has a Yeti race in it for the sci-fi. I mean, how cool is that? Who doesn't want to be a Yeti? And just because it's in sci-fi, I mean, if you're playing a fantasy setting, see if your DM will let you play the Yeti. I mean, I probably would. Why not? I mean, it's a Yeti. Who doesn't want to play a Yeti? There's all kinds of ways to customize your character. Also in Savage Worlds, there are, for every type of edge or bonus or feature that you want to give your character, you have to take hindrances. And they kind of work hand in hand. It's a very nice balancing way to make a character. So you just can't kill everything with all this great stuff for a character and have no flaws. So if you take good stuff, you have to take some bad stuff as well. You get, like I said, it's a generic setting. It's a generic rule set, so there's no classes. There are races, and there are your main stats. There's 5 stats. And there's agility, smarts, spirit, strength, and vigor. And those handle all the rules in the game. And then there's skills that are built off of the 5 core abilities. Like you could say shooting, which is part of agility. Fighting is part of agility. Anything combat orientated is based off of agility. Any kind of lore check, maybe any kind of like knowledge, science, or computers, all that stuff would be based on smart, on the smart stat. So it's a very good system. Now here's the edges and hindrances. You choose your gear. Literally, it takes you, once you've made a character a couple times, it literally takes you about 5 minutes to make a character. The big thing is reading the edges and reading the hindrances, because there are a lot. And in every one of these, not only companions, but in the fantasy, like here's the last parsec. This is a sci-fi campaign setting. Not only are there hindrances in the core book here, but there's more hindrances and edges in this book, and more hindrances and edges in this book. So the variety, the only drawback is it's multiple sources. But that goes hand in hand with the game because it is a generic game. And you just add on to the base hub of the game, which is the Deluxe core rulebook that we're looking at. And then here's all kinds of archetypes. They call archetypes example characters. So if you want to have a driver or a fencer fighter, a great weapon fighter, or a martial artist, maybe a pilot, maybe a pirate, maybe a priest, maybe a weird scientist. I mean, it just doesn't restrict you to the fantasy genre, which is great. Here's all kinds of races. There's an android race, and these are just this is the core book. There are more races in every companion or every setting. Everything builds off this book. I mean, there's your traditional dwarf, your elf, your half-elf, humans, half-orc, Rakashans. I mean, it just keeps going on. Here's rules for making a race. Here's all the different skills that are associated with the 5 core stats. Then it goes into the hindrances. Take, for instance, one of my characters playing the zombie apocalypse game got infected, had his arm bit, had to sever the arm. So, as he severed the arm, he gained a hindrance, which is called one-armed. And the one-armed hindrance gave him a massive negative modifier dealing with anything with 2 hands. There's one-eyed. There's an obese hindrance. There's phobias. I mean, there are literally pages and pages of hindrances. And like I said, and I keep repeating this, there's more hindrances than every other companion. Here's all of the edges. The edges are sort of like your class features from a more traditional game like D&D or Pathfinder. You can buy powers. Powers are spells in Savage Worlds. They're not literally called spells. And, that's another system that we'll talk about in just a minute here. And you can see there's just pages of these powers. And all of these powers are broken up into social or legendary. There's professional. And there's, several levels to the game. So there's not XP as in, oh, you get 20 XP for killing this kobold, or 200 for killing this ogre, or 1,000 for killing a dragon. You get a couple XP points a session. And every time you gain 5 experience points, you get an advance. It's called an advance, basically like a level up. And then with that advance, you can upgrade one of your core ability scores. Maybe you want to raise a couple of your skill checks. Maybe you want to buy a new edge that we're looking at here. Maybe you want to do something else. There's all kinds of different things that you can do with this game. It's really nice. And you can see here's the list of all the hindrances and edges. For a core book, that's pretty impressive. That's a lot. Here's the gear that I was showing you. I mean, it's just pages and pages of gear. All time frames of humanity. All genres. It's great. Here's the rules. They have a great perk system called the Benny system. Every player starts with 3 bennies or benefits, and if you don't like one of your rolls, you can use a benny to re-roll it. If you get hit and if you take a wound, you can use one of your bennies to maybe soak the wound and get rid of it. Shaking is a big condition in this game. There's really only 2 conditions in this game: fatigue and shaken. And so if you get hit and get shaken, then you would cash a Benny in and get rid of it. I mean, it's crazy. It's a really good system. Some hindrances will take bennies away from you. Some edges, like luck, will give you more. So there's all kinds of ways to customize your character. It talks about all the movements, the actions, the multiple actions. Talks about all the different rules, which there really are not a lot of rules in Savage Worlds. It is a very fast-paced game. There's a whole chapter on situational rules, like mounted combat, flying, chasing. When you get into the Cthulhu, the fright tables, the terrors, the fears. I mean, it literally touches on everything. Radiation, poison, long-term disease or fire. It talks about mass battles. A lot of games don't have rules for mass battles. Mass battle rules in here are really good. And I mean, they are a very broad rule set that is for mass battles. You know, all kinds of different setting rules. Basically, here's all the vehicles. Here's the chase rules. You know, there's a couple out of control. If you lose control of your vehicle, critical hit on a vehicle. You know, Chapter 5 is about powers. These are your spells. The great thing about, you know, powers is you can modify these. You get your base, you know, your edge that you take that gives you whatever type of spells you're going to cast. You can modify your spell, and it's nice the way that they do this. You know, you have the bolt. We'll just say that there is the bolt power. You can take that bolt, and there are trappings to every spell. And you can, if you want your bolt, there are bolts in every genre, people. There are magic missile bolts, there's flame bolts, there are laser bolts, so you could take that bolt spell and use it for any game or genre that you want. And then you take and change the trappings, change the visual effect of your spell. Creates a lot of great role play, and you can, you know, cast the spell. There's some of the settings do not use sort of like a PowerPoint system. The core book does, but say Deadlands, for instance, or Hellfrost, they do not. So they tell you in their player handbook, omit the PowerPoints from the core book. You can cast freely. There's no mana pool, no PowerPoint pool. So there's a lot of ways to customize all of these different, you know, powers, as they're called. Then here's a nice game mastering chapter. It talks about all the different types of players, all the different types of genres, the campaign settings that you're going to have, how to introduce new players, give them experience, explains everything. You know, here's a nice little bestiary. This has sci-fi creatures. It has normal creatures from fantasy, and normal everyday animals. It has quite a few. And then towards the end, there's a bunch of savage tales, or the one-sheets, as they're called, which are all one-shot games. Really easy to throw together. It took me 5 or 10 minutes to throw one of these together to show the stream that, hey guys, Savage Worlds is pretty fast to play. You know, this is the one that we had actually done, the chase. And there's the five characters. And then, you know, there's not a lot of bursts and templates. This is the template. There's a large burst, a small burst, and a medium burst, and then the turning template. That's it. Very, very, very rule light. That's what I like about it. And then here's all the different charts that you can basically take out and put it into like a DM screen. And then there's the character sheet. You can also download from the Pinnacle website a PDF version that actually has fillable spots that you can fill in, add, subtract stuff. So as you can see, you know, Savage Worlds is a great system. It has everything in this book. You could literally play any type of game that you want to play with just this core book. And like I said, you can get the softback for about $8 to $10, either online or in a game store. Or you can pick up the hardback like what I did for $20 online, or you can get it for $30 in the store. Check out Savage Worlds if you like, guys. Please feel free to leave a comment down below. Also, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And until next time, good gaming, everybody. And check out that Savage Worlds. It's actually really worth it. See ya.